Hello, everybody. Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to another episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Walker. Thank you so much for joining us, as always. First and foremost, I hope I don't sound odd or strange. Well, stranger than usual. I have moved the podcast studio within my home. I'm in a new office area, in a new podcasting area, and I broke my mic stand. I broke my microphone stand trying to move it to my new place, and so my microphone is laying sideways on a desktop right now. So sorry, I know I probably sound a little odd. New room, and then now faulty equipment. We're just going to call it that. But hey, first thing I want to do is I want to thank our guests from last week, Christina and Erica from Baby J's Legacy of Hope. Thank you guys very much for coming back onto the show and just kind of wrapping up the Rexy run and then talking about Baby J's Holidays of Hope. And I know it's kind of serious every time we have these conversations, but they're important to have. And, you know, even though this is just a tiny little running podcast, I still feel like anytime we can get the word out about great charities like Baby J's Legacy of Hope, I want to do that because they need it. We all need it. It's kind of for the betterment of everyone that we learn about some of these things, even if they are not pleasant to talk about. And sometimes they're not. But what those two do are amazing. And I want to be able to give them just another avenue to get their message out whenever possible, even if it is to our small but mighty audience of running dorks like we are. I saw that one of those car insurance commercials, the guy with the Mayhem guy, you know, where he's a little football player and he says, "We are small, but we are mighty annoying." Well, that's me sometimes. And maybe this podcast, we're small and mighty annoying sometimes. Now, again, I want to thank them for coming on. They're awesome. And anytime I talk to them, it's a good day. So the next thing we're going to talk about is this was the weekend of the KC Santa Dash. You know, we had race director Chris come on to the show a few weeks back and talk about this race. You know, he was so kind enough to give the podcast a discount code. So hopefully you were out there running the race on the discount code. Definitely saw a lot of familiar faces out there, which is great. I love running into, you know, my fellow runners and people who listen to and support the show. It always makes my morning so much brighter when I run into people. We saw our friends Amy out there, Josie, Alex, Ben, Ella. I think Terry was out there. So huge shout out to you guys. If I came across you or not during the race, hopefully I saw everyone. I don't think I saw Terry out there. I know she was out there, but I didn't see you. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry I missed you. But it was good to see everyone. And then had a lovely listener give me a shout out before the race. Not a person I've met personally, but said that they were a listener. And so that was awesome. Thank you so much for listening and hollering at me at the race. I love it. Trust me, I really do. It makes my whole morning when someone gives the podcast a shout out at a race. It's great. And you can't miss me. I'm out there wearing the merchandise. Like, come on. So that was really cool. The race itself, Chris is going to come back on sometime in the near future to kind of give us an overall view of how the race went. But I think the race went really well. It seemed like it was very well attended. Everyone seemed to be having a good time. For December race mornings, it wasn't bad. I think temperature was close to 40 degrees, overcast skies. It had rained the night before, but it was pretty well dried up by the time the race started. It didn't seem like it was particularly slick out there. And what was crazy at the very end of the race, I'm finished. I'm standing around talking to folks, and there were actually just a few snowflakes started to fall. Just a few. And it didn't last long. But we were definitely standing there talking, and it started to actually snow. So I thought that was really cool. That made the morning just a little more festive. But again, we will get a rundown of how the race went. Hopefully everything went really well for Toys for Tots, which was the charity partner for this race. You know, another very worthy and great cause. Everybody knows about Toys for Tots. And so hopefully they were able to have a pretty good haul and help some people out with their holidays coming up. So the race itself. All right. If you've not done it, if you've not done either the KC Santa Dash or the Westport St. Patrick's Day 4-miler, they're very much the same course. Of course, the 4-miler just goes a little farther north before you turn around and come back. You know, I touted this as a very fast course, and I still think it is a fast course. It was definitely a little more hilly than I remembered. So if I led anybody astray on the hills, I do apologize for that. Got a little hilly. And then like any rookie, you know, I've only been doing this for 12 years now, but like any rookie, I went out too fast. Dummy. I was able to kind of recover a little bit in the second mile. And then in the third mile, I really wanted to finish strong. But there were a couple times where those hills were getting to me. I say all this to say this, or I say all that to say this. And I'm tooting my own horn, but only just ever so slightly. but I finally got the 5K PR that I have been chasing since October 8th, 2011. That was my last 5K PR. I finally beat it at the KC Santa Dash, and I beat it by all of 2 seconds. But finally, after all these years, I got my new PR. I'm excited. I'm trying not to geek out too much about it. But I mean, hey, for a guy with 2 open heart surgeries, that's pretty good. Again, I bet I ran a faster 5K yesterday than anyone else with 2 open heart surgeries, at least at that race, or at least at that race in my age division, or at least at that race in my age division wearing a blue shirt. Yeah, there we go. There we go. I beat everyone else doing that. So I was pretty thrilled. And I really, really tried hard to make this the race that I got the PR in. You know, I was really, really close. I was 4 seconds off of it in October at the Monster Dash. And I thought, okay, I really want to try and get it at this race because I knew the course. We now have our special association with this race with having Chris on the show. I would dare say this race is a friend of the show. And so I really wanted to go all out. And so I was able to get it. Super excited about that. Now, Chris, I'm going to give you a hard time about this when I talk to you next. But man, you had me sweating bullets all afternoon waiting for those results to get posted. And I didn't want to stand in line at the race and be that guy. Oh, what was my time? Because trust me, I know there was no age division award in my future, and there was not. But man, get those results out faster. All afternoon, I had to wait. And I'm trying to sound really whiny, but I wanted to see what my time was, my official chip time. I know what I use Strava. I know what my Strava said, but I wanted my chip time. So when that came out, I saw that I got the PR. Super happy. Go team. Let's see. What do we got next? Okay, then. See, I'm just kind of going through this list of stuff that we're going to talk about just ever so quickly. If you did not see, last week, we put out a very special episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. It dropped on December 1st, which is like a Thursday. We still had a new episode that weekend. We just kind of snuck an episode out on you guys, and I hope you were able to see it. So what we did, and I'm just going to kind of summarize it here real quick. So we launched something new. And if you heard the episode, then you're already fully aware of it. So I'm just going to touch on it real briefly. We launched the Kansas City Hustle Club. And you can go to www.kchustleclub.com. This is just, it's kind of an offshoot of the Back of the Pack podcast. Everything is still under the Back of the Pack podcast. I love this name. It still speaks to me. That's always going to be the name of the show. But we want everyone in the running community to feel involved in what we're trying to do here. And so under that, we have started the KC Hustle Club, and this is for runners of all ability levels, runners of all finishing times. Now, I don't care if you are a 20-minute 5Ker or a 45-minute 5Ker. If you are a 45-minute 10Ker, or if you're a 2-hour 10Ker, anywhere in between and over and above or under and below, you can join us here under the Kansas City Hustle Club. So just go to, like I said, www.kchustleclub.com. You can sign up. It's $30 a year. And I mean, that's nothing compared to what some places try and get you for. It's not monthly, it's yearly. What you will get, you're going to get a t-shirt. Okay. You're going to get an awesome Kansas City Hustle Club t-shirt. So there already, there's t-shirts out there that cost $30. Already you've recouped the cover of your cost. We're going to send you out a birthday card. Any registration, early registration that is offered to the podcast by any races out there, you're going to get first dibs on. Any discount codes that are offered to the podcast, you're going to get first dibs on. You're going to get a monthly newsletter that's going to have a trainer's corner, and that's going to be from our buddy Pete. I'm sure you've heard Pete's episodes before. This dude has forgotten more about training than I will ever know. You're going to get our training schedule, whatever race I'm training for, whatever races are coming up. We're going to put training schedules out there. There's going to be just a little written piece from me for our tips and tricks, and then any club announcements that we have. Once a month, newsletter. We're going to try and feature our runners. If you're a member of the KC Hustle Club and I see you've scored an age division award, or if you're a top 3 at an overall 5K or whatever, we're going to give you a shout out in the newsletter. Again, we're going to try and stay on top of that as best we can. And then if you want to make it $10 more and just make it $40 annually, we will make your KC Hustle Club shirt a dry tech shirt. So then you can go out and you can race in it. So this is a new program. It's going to really get kickstarted on January 1st. So first of the year is when the first newsletter is going to go out. I hope you guys sign up. We've already had several signups, so it is off to a great start. But this is just something to, again, continue to unite the Kansas City running community, just unite us all together under one banner. Again, we're not exclusive to any race companies. We're not exclusive to any race shops. We're not exclusive to anything. We welcome everyone. If you're KCRC, if you're KCTC, if you're bodies, if you're whatever, man, Run 816, Running Well, all y'all, we love y'all. And so we want everyone to just kind of have this place to come together as one big Kansas City running community. Now, I say this as one big Kansas City running community because we believe in this idea so much. And through our buddy Pete, we also have started the Greenville, South Carolina Hustle Club. He's going to head that up. Same shirt styles, just instead of Kansas City, it says Greenville. So we're super excited that we've launched this already in 2 places. Again, more coming up with that, but I just wanted to make sure to point it out there. kchustleclub.com. Go get yourself signed up. And if you sign up next year, you're going to get another shirt, and it's going to be different. We're going to have different designs every year for our KC Hustle Club shirt. So you can get your own little collection going. So that's it. You can go back if you want to hear the whole story. And on that episode, we also had producer Katie. You can listen to both Katie and I talk about the Hustle Club and kind of the origins of it, why we're doing it and how it started. But go back and find that special edition episode on or around December 1st, and you can hear the whole story. So now what do we have left? What do we have left this year? We've got 2 races. There are 2 races left in 2022, if you can believe that. This here is the 40th episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. I'm just blown away by the love that we've been shown. I'm glad you guys like listening. I'm glad this is an easy listen. Trust me, I know that it is. This is not overly emotional. It's not majorly in depth. This is just an easy little listen. And I'm so glad you guys have come along the ride with us for 40 episodes now. We're just going to keep on trucking into next year. We're going to have an episode next week. And next week is, it is the Great Santa Run next week at Johnson County Community College. That's where the podcast will be. We'll have an episode that weekend, and then we're going to take 2 weeks off, okay? Because the following Sunday is Christmas Day. Following after that is New Year's Day. We are certainly not going to be trying to throw out new episodes on the 2 holidays. That's not happening. But on New Year's Eve, I will be out at the Time Travel 10K in Parkville at English Landing Park. So that will finish up our running schedule. And then what do we get? We get this really big, great long vacation of about 3 weeks off, and then we're racing again. It's right back to Battle of the Bean, which is on January 21st. If you sign up, and I'm going to do this on any of the races that I can, and I don't think I've ever shared this before. If there's a race that I sign up for to cover for the podcast, if you can create a team, or if you can have a team of 4 or plus runners, there's always going to be a Back of the Pack podcast team. I start one at every race I register for. If you guys want to get, some of them offer $2 or $4 off registration if you're part of a team. Please feel free. I don't put a password on it. It's open to anyone. But join the Back of the Pack podcast team. Save yourself a couple bucks, which is always good. And then get out there and get racing. So if there's any way I can make your racing easier on you, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And starting a little team on these signups is one of the easiest ways to do that. So I know there's a team set up for Battle of the Bean. There's a team set up for the kickoff 5K, which comes February 5th. The day of the Super Bowl. There was not a team option for the Sweetheart Run, which is in Overland Park. And I think that is February 12th. Now, the podcast is going to be at all those races. Again, if there's a team option, you can get the discount by going to the Back of the Pack podcast team. I welcome you to do it. And so get yourself out and get racing. So yeah, we have about 3 weeks off and then the new race season starts and we're going to be doing this stuff all over again. We will be getting out in March 11th to the Westport St. Patrick's Day 4-miler. And that's going to mark the 1-year anniversary of the podcast. So I don't know. I'm going to probably try and sweet talk producer Katie into getting us some kind of a special shirt made for the Westport St. Patrick's Day 4-miler, a Back of the Pack St. Patrick's Day variant, mainly because I beg producer Katie to make variants of our t-shirt for almost every race that we do. And usually she obliges. I hope you guys saw the new Christmas one because I think it's really cool. It's our Back of the Pack logo, but all the little guys are running with presents and there's lights on it. So that was fun. So that's going to do it for 2022 and the start of 2023. Again, go to our website, backofthepackpodcast.com. We have a calendar there. You'll see all the races that we're signed up for and plan to be at. It's going to be another crazy year of racing. I hope like heck that my knees can keep up with all the fun that we're going to try and have in 2023. I would love to see more Back of the Pack shirts or Kansas City Hustle Club shirts. I'm going to be kind of alternating between both, but I'd love to start seeing a lot more of those at races. That would just make my whole morning at whatever race we happen to be doing. So one thing I did want to check on, again, the support you guys offer is great. And I know you guys are like, dude, you're all over the place this morning. And you're right. And I haven't even really hit a topic for the show, but this is kind of talking shop. And this is one of my favorite parts of racing, is just sitting around and kind of talking shop with people. I mentioned all the folks that we saw at the Santa Dash, but I do want to put out a few alerts. I'm looking for two people. Where are longtime listeners Aaron and Colin? I haven't heard from you guys in a while, and I hope you're doing well in whatever it is that you're doing. Hopefully you're still running, but give the show a shout. Want to make sure you guys are still okay. Haven't heard from you in a while. So putting out an APB on Aaron and Colin. Okay, we're going to jump into real quick, and this won't take us too long, but I was talking to one of our runners yesterday at the KC Santa Dash, and you know that if we stand around in the cold and have some kind of a long conversation, it's going to end up being a topic on the show. You know this, and you're guilty of it. We stood around in the cold where it started snowing. Oh, and we had a long conversation. So it's going to be today's topic. Sorry. We as runners, we have to find motivation where we can, right? Like there are definitely going to be those mornings where you don't have it. There's going to be the mornings where the race just seems too difficult, where you just don't feel rested or you don't feel right. There's going to be the weeks where your training doesn't go well. You don't get out for as many runs as you wanted. Maybe what you did last week just didn't come as easy this week. And you're like, hey, man, but I'm still training. I'm still doing the work. Why am I not getting the results? Sometimes these things happen. There can be a million different reasons that these happen. We've talked about some of them before. Diet, of course, is something. If you're not fueling your body correctly, it can affect your training. Sleep, if you're not getting the proper rest, you may not get the results that you want. Nagging injuries also can be a complete detriment to what you're trying to do. Like I said, there's a million reasons why training kind of goes up and down. And it does. It goes up and down. It's like a freaking roller coaster, man. It is all over the place sometimes. But the worst thing that you can do is start the negative self-talk. Like for serious, and trust me, I'm as guilty of it as anyone. What I want to offer today, and I thought this was kind of interesting, is trying to get yourself out of the negative self-talk and maybe finding what is going to be called a running mantra that might help someone during those rough weeks or those rough races or even that rough last mile. What is something that you can tell yourself on a consistent basis to continue you on when the times get rough? And actually, look, they are out there on a website called Run for Good. They listed a whole bunch of mantras. Here's what they say about it. Okay. And I'm just going to read their article word for word here. And this is from, let's see, I want to give shout out to the author here if they list it. Christine Luff is this author's name. And I thought this was a really good article. A runner who I coached several years ago as a cancer survivor and was determined to get back to running after he finished his treatment. Having lost a lot of fitness and muscle tone, he struggled during his first few months, but he used a mental trick to help push him through those difficult runs. He thinked back to where he was earlier, in a hospital bed, hooked up to IVs and not sure if he'd survive, and remind himself of how far he'd come by repeating a running mantra to himself. He kept saying the phrase, "this time last year," over and over to himself while running. When he was just a couple days away from running the New York City Marathon, he shared with our team that he had a new mantra that he'd been using during the race. It was "this time, this year," to celebrate his incredible journey and express his gratitude for his health and strength. So they go on to say, the power of running mantras. You don't have to have lived through something traumatic or extremely difficult to harness the power of running mantras. Anyone can use a short motivational phrase to help push through a killer workout or a rough patch in a race. Repeating a mantra over and over again can help calm you down and also distract you from any discomfort or doubts you might be feeling. Ideas for running mantras. Your mantra doesn't even have to be any special meaning. It could be just a phrase that gets you really pumped. It's definitely good to work some action words into your mantra since they tend to make us feel more powerful and stronger. Some examples of ones I've used in the past: dig deeper, feeling stronger, getting faster, leave nothing on the course. Some runners even like to print a mantra on their race shirt so spectators repeat it for them as they run by. I've seen runners in long races write mantras on a bracelet and use a different one for each mile. Some even wear an engraved mantra bracelet with their favorite phrase. You could also use mantras at a specific point in a race, like on an uphill, up the hill, or you own this hill, or your final mile, kick it up or finish strong. But running mantras don't have to be really serious or technical to be effective. I know a runner who swears that saying beer at the finish pushes him harder in a race. One suggestion when choosing your running mantra is to avoid negative words such as not, as is, I'm not going to stop. When you make a statement like that, your brain may just hear stop, and then that's all you can think about. Stick to positive statements such as, I'm going to keep running, and you'll do just that. And so let's see, they go on with, here's a whole list of running mantras. If any of this speaks to you, then adopt it. And here we go. Run the mile you're in. You must do the thing you think you cannot do. And that's credited to Eleanor Roosevelt. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I can and I will. Feet fast, legs strong. I can do this all day. Just breathe. I'm tough. I'm strong. I can run this. Pain is weakness leaving the body. Sky above me, earth below me, fire within me. Arms faster, legs faster. I've got this. I breathe in strength. I breathe out weakness. Credited to Amy Hastings. Keep moving forward. One foot in front of the other. Everything you need is already inside. Just stay calm. The body achieves what the mind believes. Calm and relaxed, I'll run fast. And that's credited to Des Linden, the 2018 Boston Marathon champ. Desi. It only works if you work it. Today, I'm fit, fast, and fierce. You're stronger than your excuses. Stay smooth, stay strong. Stronger with every mile. How much do you want it? I worked hard for this. This too shall pass. My race, my pace. Never take a finish line for granted. That's from Bart Yasso. Work for it. Bring it on. Deep breaths, strong legs. I run for those who can't. And so those are just some of the examples. I thought this was really cool. Now, one of the quotes that I really like, and I don't know if I've really attributed it much to my running life, but this has always been my favorite quote ever since I saw the movie. And it's from the movie The Sandlot. And it's the character who plays Babe Ruth, it's an actor. It's not really Babe Ruth, go figure. But he says, remember, kid, heroes get remembered, but legends never die. Follow your heart and you can never go wrong. I've always loved that quote. It's always stuck with me. But if you're listening to the show and if you have a running mantra, I would love to know what it is. You can always find the show on Facebook and even Instagram, at Back of the Pack Podcast. But yeah, send it to me. I would love to know what your running mantra is. And there is a lot of good ones in here. Yes, some of them are cheeseball, but that's just going to happen. That's the way things are. But what do you use to get motivated during a bad week of training, or heck, even in the race? I think back to 2021, November, me doing the New York Marathon, easily in the worst running shape of my life. Easily. I had been fighting a foot injury leading up to the race. I was insanely overweight. I was in horrid running shape. Like, I look at those race pictures and think, oh my God, how did I finish? I looked awful. I really looked bad. And in those finishing pictures, when I finished the race, just the pain etched on my face. I'm trying to think, it's like, man, did I have a mantra? Did I have something? And I think, no. You know what I had was negative self-talk the entire time. From the first half mile, which is terrible because it's an uphill half mile to start the race. My foot was already screaming at me. I was already freaking winded. I mean, I was in horrible, horrible shape. And so I didn't have a good running mantra. I had all the negative self-talk. And boy, no wonder that race never got better. Now, there were definitely points of it I enjoyed. The crowd support was amazing. And I know I've gone on about that before. I won't go on about it again. But yeah, I really set myself up for failure from that first half mile with the negative self-talk and not adapting or adopting one of these sayings or just some kind of positive self-talk that would have gotten me through the race. So I don't know if you've had a moment like that and you kind of look back at it, you might think, wow, maybe a running mantra would be a good idea. I do wear a bracelet, but it's our Back of the Pack podcast bracelet, which the mantra on that is always running our mouths. So as much as I like that for the podcast, don't know how much it gives me during a run. And I'm even trying to think back to the KC Santa Dash yesterday. If I had something going through my head, because again, I got the PR that I wanted, but I honestly don't remember what was going through my head. I think it was more of just run, dummy, move it, go, something along those lines. But anyway, so I think that will do it for this episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. Again, a shout out to all the awesome people I saw yesterday at the race, to everyone that I'm going to continue to see at races, even when it's cold and gross and we really don't want to, because warm beds and hot coffee sound way better, which is normal. But hey, if you guys want to share your running mantra with me, please hit us up on social media. As always, you can like, comment, share the show. Everything helps. If you enjoy the show, please share it on your social media platforms so we can get more people into our very small but very awesome community of runners. And yeah, next week is going to be our last show of 2022. If you can believe that. It's crazy considering we started this in March. We've come a long way since March, and I can only thank all you awesome listeners for that. I think next week we're going to kind of do a year in review, and then we're going to be off for a couple of weeks to enjoy the holidays. So that's going to do it. I'm your host, Kyle Walker. It is my pleasure, as always. This show is brought to you by OKKC Sports and produced by Katie O'Neill. We'll see you next week, everyone. As I'm looking outside at the frozen fog that is falling in Kansas City, it reminds me to tell you guys, hey, stay safe while you're out there. Dark days, slick roads, all very bad for runners. So take all the precautions you need. Be safe, and we'll see you next week.